Welcome back to the Digital Tournament Expert Division, hole number 6. Here we're going to be playing to the Center Island fairway, setting up for a sniper rough bump approach at the Albatross. This drive is APOC 4 plus friendly, P3 plus 10% max numbers using 4 topspin and 3 left spin on the drive. So, one thing to note is going to be the plus yards you pull to when you adjust. So, our starting position is at the low end of the plus 5 for APOC 5 plus, and at the low end of the plus 9 for APOC 4. So, APOC 8 is red ring touching the rough on the left at the low end of the plus 5. APOC 7 is 1/3 of your red ring in the rough at the low end of the plus 5. And then APOC 5 and 6 is 2/3 of the red ring in the left rough at the low end of the plus 5. If you're using APOC 4, you'll be at the low end of the plus 9, but you will have to mimic the ball guide. So right here, this picture is with no spin added. If you have an APOC 4, before you add spins, I would recommend getting your starting position and trying to mimic this ball guide as best you can at the low end of the plus 9, right? So the second bounce is just into the rough, and it looks like I'm just right of center of the sand on the top there. That's your starting position. Let's go over the drive. So one thing you need to pay attention to is the plus yards you pull when you adjust your drive. It's P3 plus 10 max, always 4 topspin, always 3 left spin, all right? Now, that being said, we're doing right or left curl, and we're having the center line touch the tip of the triangle, and we're doing just before circle drop OP. So you see my circle drop, you see the tip of the triangle, the center line touching the tip of the triangle. That is what we're doing for the drive in almost every situation. Kind of moved off the center line there, but circle drop, just before circle drop OP, center line touching the tip of the triangle, left curl in most situations. And what I mean by that is we're going to pay attention to the plus yards we pull into when we adjust our drive. So sometimes you can get a tailwind angle and you need to pay attention. In most cases, we know we're starting at the bottom of the plus 5. In most cases, you will adjust up plus yards so you'll have a slight headwind. Generally speaking, I've pulled to the plus 7, plus 8, or plus 9 almost every time, but there has been a couple of occasions where I pulled down lower than the plus 5. If you pull lower than the plus 5, you're going to want to take a few clicks of overpower off of your drive. So what I would recommend is you find your circle drop and then pull it up, take a little bit of power off of it, maybe 4 or 5 clicks above circle drop, keeping the center line touching the tip of the triangle on the left curl. If you have the tailwind angle and you don't take any power off of it, there's a chance that your second bounce misses the rough and you roll long onto that pad, which will change the approach. It might even put you between clubs. You could roll long and have a rough iron shot. If that happens, don't worry. You can still reach the green in 2 for an easy eagle, and you still have a shot at Albatross. It just won't be the sniper rough bump playing like we're playing here. So pay attention to the plus yards you pull to when you adjust your drive. If you pull below the plus 5, take off a few clicks of overpower, you should be fine. Most drives here for me have been 346 or 347. but we're using 346 as our base. Okay. Quick. I'll show you the rollout, and then we'll move on to the approach. All right. Our approach shot is always going to be 29% slider as our base, P3, 0 elevation. So after I take my drive, I'm going to note my drive yardage, right? On that drive, I drove it 347. So between my drive and my approach shot while my opponent is playing a shot, I'm going to set my slider up at P3, 0 elevation, and I'm going to set it at 29 slider. That's my base. If I drive it 346, it's good. That's the number I use. If I drive it 347, I'm going to minus 0.1 from that number. If I drive it 342, I'm going to minus 0.4 from that number. If I drive it 349, I'm going to minus 0.3 from that number. So we'll use the chart here to the left, but we're using a base slider as our starting point for this approach. So 346 is 29 slider. You'll always set your slider at 29. You'll always have it P3 plus 0, right? And then you'll add or subtract as needed based on whether you're above or below that 346 yard drive. The approach is no spin, ball guide through the cup by a little over a square, and your red ring should be just off of the rough line on the top, right? So if you notice, the tip of my ball guide is a little over one line through the hole, center cup, and my red ring is just off of the fairway on the top. Very good opportunity here. One other note is pull this approach shot as straight as possible. If you pull this crooked, you will likely miss one side or the other because there is no sticky spot. It's just a straightforward rough bump with no sticky spot. So, but if you set everything up properly, adjust properly, and hit perfect, you have a very good chance at dropping the albatross here. I think I dropped this one 4 or 5 times in practice in a row. So, good opportunity. Pay attention to your drive yardage. Pay attention to your plus yards you are adjusting on your drive, and you should have a really good shot at dropping the albatross. Best of luck. We'll see you on the next hole.